All right, talking about immunity now, we have in the studio Senator Olorunibe Mamora. It's good to have you on the TVC Breakfast this morning.
Thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me.
Right. And also we have with us the House Chairman on Rules and Business, Honorable Emmanuel Oke-Jeff. He's with us in our Abuja studio. Honorable Emmanuel, it's good to have you on TVC Breakfast. All right, but before I come to you, let me go to the Senator here. When you sit down and watch your colleagues and your former colleagues and other people who are in the Senate and House of Reps now debating, in fact, the last 1 week or so has been the issue of the rowdy session in the House of Reps generally. What comes to mind when it comes to the issue of immunity clause when we remember that the Constitutional Conference at the time was very was positive towards even expunging the immunity clause from the Constitution, and now we're talking about extending it to House of the legislative houses. What comes to your mind when you watch all these debates?
Well, I think I'm just as amazed as you are. You know, some of the times that I listen to the trend of discussion on certain issues, you know, before the National Assembly. My own opinion, you know, right away is that it is totally unnecessary, it is uncalled for, it is not desirable
Why
at
not?
all. Okay? Now, like he said, you recall that even the immunity granted under Section 308 for governors, deputy governors, president and vice president, that immunity is even being queried. You see, because when you look at America, that is the bastion of presidential democracy, there is no immunity for anyone, including Mr. President. So many governors were removed or have been removed from office in the US. But I would just want to feel that the drafters or the framers of the Constitution were possibly considering the level of our political evolution and taking on board, you know, the tendency for, well, call it political exuberance that could, the fallout which could distract, as it were, the chief executives. And that was why I would want to, you know, play the devil's advocate that was put there. And of course, just for the period while in office. And the Supreme Court has already made a decision to the effect that the immunity is against prosecution, not against investigation. That, of course, even while in office, as a chief executive, you can be investigated.
Okay, Senator, Honorable Emmanuel, let's have your thoughts on this. We played your thought a little earlier on, but perhaps as your stance still the same, you're against the immunity being extended to the leadership of the House of Assembly.
Well, yes, like I said yesterday, you know, and also the fact that when the issue of immunity, when this bill came for second reading on the floor of the House, you could see there was a rowdy session, meaning that the House itself has not taken a position, meaning that it is not a very popular bill, even with members. Like I said, you know, the immunity that we already enjoy should suffice. You know, if you stand on the floor, you are not supposed to be looking over your shoulder when you make any contributions. You are not supposed to be afraid that you attract litigation, either civil or criminal, when you're on the floor making your own contributions. And that is already taken care of by the Legislative Houses Powers and Privileges Act. And so introducing this, especially at a time that we have a relationship problem between the legislature and the House and the executive, I'm sure that a lot of Nigerians would think there's an agenda that is behind this. So for me, I think this is time, and I think considering the serious economic and other issues that we have on the ground, it's not good to give a wrong impression to Nigerians, you know, bringing this bill at this point in time. So I think that's my position concerning this bill.
Honorable Jeb, let me stay with you on this. This issue has been on the current for some time, but can you let us know, you are the one in the House now, what is the new interest, if you have to let us know, what is the new interest in bringing up this, you call it unpopular bill?
Well, like I said, this bill was brought by a member, the minority leader, and I may not know exactly what motivated his bringing up this bill, but my guess is that maybe he wants to draw attention to the less than ideal relationship between the legislature and the executive that is currently going on, particularly in the Senate wing of the National Assembly. Perhaps with this, the debate will should, in his own opinion, I think, I'm just trying to second guess him, try to discuss many ways, because not many people are too happy about a situation where you have presiding officers every day going to court. Not that I'm justifying it either way, I mean one way or the other, but it doesn't give a good impression about the democracy that we are operating now. So perhaps that may have motivated the idea of bringing this bill. But like I say, it's time. Personally, I don't support it at this time. I think we have a level of immunity, and that should stay at you know, should remain that way for now.
Your Honorable Emmanuel's argument talking about having just immunity for what you say. Is it possible that what you say also could be so inflammatory and so damaging that it could open up the Pandora box of things you've done in the past, and perhaps then you have to face a criminal charge? Just my own silly thinking. But also, if this if this particular motion had been moved at another time, would it be okay?
There is no time. I repeat, there is no time that it will be well timed. You see, you need to look at certain things. One of which is there any functional democracy anywhere in the world where you have that immunity for legislators? No. And we are part of the global village. And we also talk in terms of global best practices. None. That's them. Two, you want to also look at the issue of, you see, I have always argued that the most important function of a legislator is representation, not even lawmaking. My own position is that lawmaking is the most advertised, but the most important is representation, because you are first and foremost elected as a representative of the people before you can become a lawmaker. And your lawmaking activity cannot be what it should be without effective and efficient representation.
Or would you say, honestly, sir, if you were the Senate President, for instance,
yeah,
and you're being dragged to court, you have more than, how many cases now does the Senate President has? How many cases?
Yeah,
like 3? If you were the Senate President, in all honesty, would you feel a little bit unperturbed by all this and
I will feel very, very uncomfortable. I will feel very, very uncomfortable. And well, I'm sure anybody in that position should know what to do in this circumstance.
What's there to do, sir?
Well, it's a matter of you know, personal. It's a matter of, you know, I think the right thing to do is to just quit, you know, just throwing it out and quit the stage. It's not necessarily because of you as a person, but because of that office and the dignity of that office.
And what is the guarantee that if he resigns? What is the guarantee that if he resigns, another Senate President comes, perhaps there could be another case against the same, another Senate President?
Don't forget that, just as I said, we are looking at, look at what happened, look at Cameron. Cameron didn't even have to do what he did to start with. But it's just a matter of personal conviction. And, well, that you just want to be above board as much as possible. And I don't want us to even forget the issue of this immunity we're talking about for legislators. If you look at the mode of emergence of a governor, deputy governor, president, vice president, the governor has the entire state as his or her constituency. The president has the entire country. Legislators have components of the state or of the country as their constituency. If you look at the mode of removal as well, you remove a governor, it's a whole process. The removal of a principal officer is just by a vote. You are not even required to give a reason. Just if it's a principal, it's a presiding officer, 2/3. If it's a principal officer, it's just simple majority. So when you look at all this, and then you look at the mode of, the duties being performed.
Yes, sir.
It's the executive, like the word says, that executes policies, programs, and laws, and who is more prone to run into, step on toes, run into rough waters.
I don't want to state with this issue, but what you're bringing up is also bringing up another thought to my mind where, okay, perhaps we can do with less legislators. Maybe the issue of having too expensive legislators is now coming in.
Well,
What you're saying now, the executive perform the duties, policy making.
No. They execute.
They execute more of the policies.
Okay,
so can we do with fewer legislators, or how don't make us?
It's a matter of choice. It's a matter of choice. Of course, the arguments are being canvassed because you have pros and cons for this. You have the merits and you have the demerits. Some people are already canvassing for one chamber, single chamber National Assembly as opposed to bicameral.
Okay.
Of course, in terms of cost saving and all that, and in terms of ease of getting things done, because you're talking of a bill, unless it's passed.
Needs to have a bicameral legislature instead of unicameral, but we'll come back to that shortly. Let me bring in Honorable Jev in here. Now, Honorable Jev, from comments we've been hearing from people and even your stand, it tells, let me use your word, that this bill on the immunity for leaders of the National Assembly is very unpopular. But we see that it has passed through between the first and second reading now, as the case may be. The call from the people is that this shouldn't pass. But what impact is the call from the voices of average Nigerians? What impact does it have on bills like this?
Thank you. There are stages of there are stages. Let me say that this immunity thing is a constitutional amendment bill. Now, our standing orders in Order 13, Rule 98, gives a procedure through which you can do a constitutional amendment. It goes through first reading, second reading, and then is given to the Special Ad hoc Committee on Constitutional Amendment. So the bill came up for the second time, and it looks like the Dogara regime, so to say, Dogara has taken the view that almost every bill that is for constitutional amendment should be given over to the Special Ad hoc Committee on Constitutional Amendment. Previously, some bills were struck down at the level of second reading, but presently he has taken the view, or he appears to have taken the view, that all such bills, whether popular or unpopular, should be given over to the Special Ad hoc Committee on Constitutional Amendment. It is at that level that more work will be done, and it will be determined whether it should come back to the House, for further consideration. So that is why it passed second reading. In spite of the fact that the forces evenly divided for and against, or even more against than for, but it still went over, past second reading. That is why it happened. But I think, like I've always said, a constitutional amendment is not something that ends with the National Assembly. It goes beyond that. Apart from public hearing, it also goes to all the 36 states of the Federation, and they have a role to play. If they strike it down, it goes down. If the Nigerian people decide during the public hearing that they don't want it, it goes down. So this is just a stage of it. I don't think Nigerians have anything to fear, if indeed, as it's clear, they don't want this to be passed into law.
Senator Godswill Akpabio made another suggestion, just close related to what we're talking about, that the immunity should be extended to all lawmakers, not just the presiding officer. And I know that you're not one of the presiding officers. If you were, perhaps would you support this now that if it's okay for everybody, for all lawmakers, would you want to change your stance?
No, my position, I don't know if tomorrow I will become a presiding officer. I could easily become, any member could easily become a presiding officer. So if it was on selfish reason, I'll be arguing that let it stay there so that if perhaps tomorrow I make the list of the presiding officers, I will enjoy it. But I know, we already have a level of immunity. And this is not unique to Nigeria. Almost every democracy has given a level of immunity to its legislature, so that you don't stand on the floor and make contributions, and after that you have a flood of litigation coming your way. That is the level of immunity that is decent in any democratic society, and that is the immunity that I'm satisfied with. Even if all members are to be given, I mean, I have no issues. I've stayed in Parliament since 2007. I have no issues. So I don't know why I will be seeking for any immunity other than the one that has been provided by the Legislative House's Powers and Privileges Act. That for me is enough.
Right, Senator Mamora, we hear some reports were saying that there's a movement within the Senate somehow that in case this immunity thing doesn't pass, that it could whip up the issue of impeachment proceedings against the president. Can you talk to us from that?
No.
Okay.
You see, let me take it further from where he stopped. You see, you don't reduce issues to personal benefits. You are talking of public office, public trust, and then you are looking at the good of the people. And the beauty of a law is in its ability to stand the test of time. Yes, any law will still be subjected to amendment or even repeal, but the beauty of it is for it to stand the test of time. You're not making law for a period, or for now. It's for over a period of time and all that. Now, having said that, let me just also say that the Legislative House's Powers and Privileges Act, Cap 208, Laws of the Federation, 1999. As he said, you have enough privileges conferred as a legislator, conferred on you, collectively as an institution, a legislative institution, and of course as individuals within that legislative institution, that will protect you in terms of what you say, what you do, in course of your legitimate duties. And that is all you need. And don't forget again, the Constitution has provided for recall. A legislator can be recalled by his or her constituents. You cannot recall a governor or president. The best you can do is to, go for removal if you want to. Now back to the issue. You see, when people talk about this impeachment and all that, and the subsequent removal and all, I just shake my head. This is an extreme power. And repeat, extreme power of the legislature, particularly as it affects, the chief executive. America has been in this democratic practice for over 200 years. No single remover, no president of the United States has been removed for over 200 years. Not a single one.
So is there anything wrong if Nigeria removes one, if they feel there's a need to remove one?
No, I'm not saying, but you see, it's even extremely difficult. I can tell you that. It's extremely difficult because of the process that it will go through.
And the high power politics.
And take, for example,
yes,
even I mean, because we need to cite examples so that we can get, have a better understanding. In the case of Clinton, Bill Clinton, in I think 1998. Now, in America, the impeachment is done by the House of Representatives, and then the impeachment just means indictment. So we should not, because we tend to mix it up here. You say impeachment. Impeachment only means indictment. It does not mean, guilt has been pronounced on you. You cannot be, a sentence of guilt cannot be pronounced until you have undergone trial.
So it means you've been found wanting.
So the House of Representatives successfully impeached Clinton. But it has to go to the next stage. That was why it went to the Senate. So it's the trial, so to speak, quote and unquote. He was tried for perjury, and of course allegation of trying to obstruct the course of justice there. Now, it went to the Senate. Of course, it couldn't pass. And so it failed. The other one, that of Nixon, of course, Nixon resigned. But I'm saying no single one, at least, by the record. So that's just to tell you how difficult it is. And like I said, it's an extreme power. You see, what we should continue to hammer on, so that's what I try to do. That between the legislature and the executive, there ought to be synergy. There has to be interdependence. People talk of separation of powers. Separation of powers can only be within the ambit of constitutionally assigned roles. But for good governance, you need cooperation, you need collaboration, you need coordination, you need communication, you need mutual respect, you need mutual understanding for the good of the people.
All right.
These are the things that we need to hammer and need to let people know.
Okay,
we shouldn't be talking of impeachment. It doesn't work that way.
Okay,
don't forget, the legislature is a political institution.
Yes, indeed.
Exactly.
Okay, let's
Politics
have
will
this,
come in. Interest, sentiments will come in.
Okay.
And you end up finding it almost impossible.
Okay.
No single, I repeat, and I say it here, no single impeachment and subsequent removal of any governor in this country ever went through a due process. It was through coercion and some other subterfuge and, backhand processes.
Okay, let's bring Honorable Jeff in here. The issue of the Senate is bantering with the words impeachment, and we've been well enlightened here that it only means indictment, and if they do that, it has to go through the normal due process. Do you see that holding water anytime soon?
Sorry, can I take that again?
Yes, your reaction on the issue of impeachment threats going on in the Nigerian Senate right now. Do you think that will sail through? Will this sail through?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. It is very clear that the impeachment is only being used as an arm-twisting tactic or as a response to what some senators feel, the leadership is going through. I don't think it's popular even in the Senate. Certainly it will not be popular in the House of Representatives. I don't think impeachment should be used as a weapon at this stage. It will not succeed even in the Senate. And Nigerians definitely are not for any impeachment for now. I think if any issues come up, they should be handled in other ways rather than coming up with the impeachment stick now. I'm not for it, and I don't think the House of Representatives will be for it.
All right, Honorable Jeff, let me stay with you on this. We remember some of the recommendations from the Constitutional Conference that was held the last time, although some people in some quarters, maybe politically, felt that some of those were not very popular, but we know the reactions of the people generally when it comes to the call for Constitutional Conference, and one was held. Now, one of their recommendations on the immunity clause was that the one even for the executive should be expunged from the Constitution, which was popular among the average and common Nigerian generally. Now, with this now, but if we have to project forward a little bit, is there the likelihood that even the immunity clause on the executive is going to be either reduced or even expunged from the Constitution?
Let me say this. I'm a member of the Special Ad hoc Committee on Constitutional Amendment. And the committee has taken the position that we would take a look at the recommendations of that conference. Having said that, personally, I have always insisted that considering our level of development presently, let's allow the immunity for executive to stay there, because I know we have not developed to a level politically that we can take off immunity. There will be too much politicking around those offices. And so let it remain there. My position concerning immunity, being against it, has always been when it's extended to a legislative arm of government. But for executive, I know, considering that everybody's eyes are on the executive, everybody's eyes are either on the president or the governors, considering the wealth that they control. If you allow the immunity to be off, most of this litigation will be very distracting, and it will not allow for smooth operations. So, but that's my opinion anyway. We are going to take a look at all the recommendations of that conference, because we have, each member has been given the report to study, and when the time comes, we'll see how we can factor some of the recommendations into the constitutional amendment.
Okay, even if we look at the immunity clause right now, as it is being practiced in Nigeria today, and the case of Governor Ayodele Fayose comes to mind, where a sitting governor's account has been frozen, and the section of that, the provision of that particular clause is talking about allowing the governor to be focused in the issue of governance, where he's not distracted. I wonder how a governor's frozen account will not be a distraction to him. Do you see any sense in that?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, the Constitution is clear. And I did say that earlier on in this program, that the Supreme Court has already made a ruling that immunity is against prosecution, not against investigation. So, of course, he has gone to court. Let the court also decide whether an infringement otherwise, has been committed on on the governor. And don't forget again that you see, the experience has shown here in this country that some of the governors hide under this immunity thing to perpetrate impunity. That has been established in so many cases, in the past and even in the present. And it's important for people to appreciate that every right, every privilege has attached to it commensurate responsibility, because the framers, the drafters of the Constitution, they would have taken this, on board before doing just with that expectation that a holder of a particular office will also accord that office what it rightly deserves.
All right, now let me stay with you, Senator Mamora. It is said that politics is about conflict resolution, of who gets what, when, and how. And if we have to look through the who gets what, when, and how, the way it is carried out in the country, you see that there's a lot of crude means and very unconventional means of trying to get what, when, and how. Could that be the reason why you talked about the drafters of the Constitution, seeing that our democracy or our political culture is kind of very nascent and very inexperienced? So let's have this to protect the chief executives, at least to help them concentrate. If we have to move forward, if we have to do a little projection, is it likely that someday this is going to be removed from the Constitution as a whole?
I believe so. I believe so. It's a matter of time. Because as we mature and as we start doing things the right way, of course, it will get to a point in time when people will just feel that, look, we don't need this thing. Let's take it out. I mean, that is my feeling.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, Honorable Jeff.
All right.
Honorable Jeff, from your standpoint, you are certainly not for the immunity for the principal officers of the National Assembly. Are you saying that this bill will not see the light of day? Can you categorically say that?
Yeah, let me just add that the bill brought by Minority Leader also seeks to extend the immunity to the presiding officers at the state level, not just the National Assembly leaders. Now, having said that, you know, we are guided, you know, part of the legislative agenda of the 8th Assembly, 8th House of Representatives at least, is that the public will be factored into all our decision-making processes, you know, more than ever before. So having said that, when it becomes very glaring that any issue, any bill, any motion that, you know, is on the floor of the House, because every bill has to have a public hearing, and the public hearing is not for fun. It is to take the input of the public. And now, if at the end of the day it becomes very clear that it's unpopular with members of the Nigerian public, certainly it will be thrown out. And we have a situation now where even the members themselves majority of the members themselves don't find it comfortable going along with this bill. So I don't see it, you know, thriving at the end of the day. I don't see it at all.
Okay, perhaps. You were talking on the issue of collaboration, mutual trust and understanding with the legislature and the executive. How do you think Nigeria would achieve that?
Well, again, before I go on to that, let me just add to what the honorable member said.
Yes.
You see, I can tell you with all the emphasis at my disposal that
Yes.
that is kind of bill that you classify as DOA, dead on arrival. It won't pass.
All right, we'll see about
Because you need 2/3.
Okay.
You need 2/3 at that level in each of the houses of the National Assembly, and then 2/3 by the, you know, of the states. It won't pass. It's just like that. This social media bill, something, you know, recently. Of course, at a point, of course, they certainly had to withdraw it.
All right.
And that also buttresses the point I've always made, that representation is the most important role of the legislator. You want to ask yourself, does this thing enjoy popular support of the people, of my constituents? That is the first question you need to ask. And that is why, again, I'm not aware, to the best of my knowledge, limited experience in legislature, I will say that there is no room. There is no room, I repeat, absolutely, for secret votes or voting in the legislature. It is important that your constituents know how you vote on every particular issue, because that may determine whether you return to that place or not. It has to be open.
Okay.
Now, so having said that, back to the
Cooperation and
issue.
mutual understanding?
Now, you see, this has to be built up, particularly through the party caucuses, because, you know, aside the presiding officers, that is the Senate President, Deputy Senate President, the Speaker, Deputy Speaker, and of course, Speaker and Deputy Speaker in the various states. All other positions, they are party positions. In fact, they are not even recognized by the Constitution. It's only the presiding officer's position, that is Speaker, Deputy Speaker, Senate President, Deputy. Those are the only positions recognized by the Constitution. So because all those other positions are positions that the party would naturally be expected to have input, then the party has a role to play in building synergy, cooperation between the executive and the legislature. The party should be that bridge, so that, you know, to ensure smooth running in the interest of the people. Because oftentimes, this crisis is between the legislature and the executive. And it's like a situation of two elephants, you know, fighting. It's the grass that suffers. Everything we just see comes to a standstill. Even in better developed democracy, in America, you talk of shutdown when there's a crisis like that. Most of the time, it has to do with certain policies, certain bills. Even under Obama, there was shutdown of the Congress. Yeah. So, but we must be able to close ranks. We must be able, and particularly when you have the same party that, you know, the majority party that is controlling the executive and also the legislature. We should be able to, it's a matter of, you know, having dialogue let me just put it that way, dialogue on all issues, you know, and then it will enhance that mutual respect, mutual understanding.
Okay, Honorable Jeff, just your final thoughts on the issue of collaborations with between the legislature and the executives. Our guest said it has to come from the party. The marriage really has to be cemented from the party. Do you agree?
Please, sorry. We'll
Your
take it again.
your take on
I'm
collaboration.
having issues with the audio a little bit.
Okay, I'll repeat myself. Your take on collaboration, mutual understanding between the legislature and the executive. Our guest said it has to come from the party. The groundwork must come from the party. Do you agree with that, sir?
I agree with that and more. You know, even in America, that has a democracy spanning over 200 years, the personality of those who are operating both the executive and the legislative arms of government at that time determines the kind of relationship that they have. So both the presidency will have to work on it, both the leadership of the National Assembly will work, and of course the party of the controlling party will also have to work on it. It's something that shouldn't be left to just any one individual or group of individuals. Everybody will have to work on having a decent relationship between the arms of government, because we can't afford to be going at different ways, especially when all of us belong to the same party.
All right. Honorable Emmanuel Oke, Jeff, House Chairman on Rules and Business, thank you for talking to us on TVC Breakfast. And Senator Olorunibe Mamora. I love the language. He's wonderful.
I think you should adopt him as a son.
No, but it's nice. It's not, I like local African names. Are wonderful.
It's important to also stress what you said. Yeah, when I'm happy the way you put it, that the groundwork. But all parties involved should work towards this solid relationship we're talking about.
Yeah,
and again, we should not get it wrong. The three arms of government, they are supposed to be coordinates. And what it means, coordinates means equal in power, in ranking and order.
All right.
Yes.
Senator Mamora, thank you very much for coming on
Thank you for
TVC
coming.
Breakfast.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, this is where we end today's edition of the program. Tomorrow is another day again for us to have great times on the morning shift. Thank you for watching. I am Mike Okwache.
And I am Busola Mitunwashi. Bye for now.